Welcome to Critical IT Solutions podcast series, where technology leadership meets innovation. Join us as we explore the ideas shaping modern IT, from cybersecurity to quantum computing and everything in between.
Here's a number that should stop you cold. 88% of small and mid-sized businesses already depend on a managed service provider. Nearly 9 out of 10. And yet the entire industry is being told right now that its core identity is basically obsolete. Today, we're unpacking the shift from managed services to managed intelligence, what that actually means, why it's happening at this specific moment, and what's genuinely at stake for businesses of every size. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how the MSP industry got here, what the new model looks like, and why the next 24 to 36 months could determine who survives and who doesn't. I've got someone here who has been deep in this space, so let's get into it. Walk me through what we're actually talking about when we say managed services.
So at its core, a managed service provider, an MSP, is a third-party company that takes over the management of a business's IT operations. Think of it as outsourcing your tech department. You're handing off things like cloud computing, IT infrastructure, network management, cybersecurity, backup and recovery, all of that to an external team that handles it for you.
So it's basically like hiring someone to run your IT so you don't have to.
Exactly. And the reason businesses do it comes down to a few things. According to CompTIA research cited in a Vandis white paper, the key drivers are reducing costs, getting predictable pricing for routine IT expenses, and gaining top-notch security and uptime. It's a peace of mind play as much as anything else.
And clearly it's a massive industry. Like, how big are we talking?
Enormous. DataBridge Market Research valued the global managed services market at $366.59 billion in 2025, and they're projecting it to reach $752 billion by 2033. That's nearly doubling in under a decade. Fortune Business Insights has an even more aggressive projection. They see it hitting over $1.1 trillion by 2034.
Over $1 trillion. That's not a niche industry.
Not even close. And North America is leading the charge. Fortune Business Insights puts North America's market share at 43.2% in 2025. The growth is being driven by cloud adoption, digital transformation, and businesses just needing help managing increasingly complex IT ecosystems.
So if the market is this big and growing this fast, why is there this narrative that the traditional MSP model is under threat? What changed?
That's the crux of it. The market is growing, but the expectations inside that market have fundamentally shifted. TSIA, the Technology and Services Industry Association, put out their State of Managed Services 2025 report, and the headline was pretty blunt. Customers no longer just want services. They expect measurable business outcomes and a clear return on investment.
So it's not enough to just keep the servers running.
Right. TSIA said it directly. Simply maintaining IT infrastructure is no longer enough. Your customers want a strategic partner who actively contributes to their success. And that's a very different job description than keep the lights on.
I mean, that's a pretty significant identity shift for an entire industry. Like, these companies built their whole model around being the reliable fixers.
It really is. And TSI identified 3 critical challenges MSPs are facing as they try to make this transition: restructuring operations for agility, proving business value through customer success, and evolving their key performance indicators to align with this new reality. Those are not small asks.
Yeah, changing your KPIs is basically changing what you think success means. That's deep.
And it's happening against a backdrop of real market pressure. The MSP Global State of the Industry report from winter 2026, which surveyed over 300 MSP professionals worldwide, found that after months of AI enthusiasm, MSPs are actually pulling back from technology-led expansion and refocusing on execution fundamentals: cybersecurity, client understanding, go-to-market strategy.
So the AI hype cooled a bit?
The hype cooled, but the underlying shift didn't. The MSP Global Spring 2026 report actually said AI is now infrastructure. It's the thing MSPs fear most and also the thing they can't ignore. Cybersecurity as a business health priority climbed from 26% to 31% in just one quarter. That's a significant jump.
Okay, so let's get into the new model. Because I keep hearing this term, Managed Intelligence Provider, or MIP. Where did that come from and what does it actually mean?
So the term was really crystallized by Pax8, a major cloud commerce platform, when they released a research report called The Agentic Inflection Point and the Rise of the Managed Intelligence Provider. And the framing is pretty striking. It's literally MSP to MIP, Managed Service Provider to Managed Intelligence Provider.
And what's the actual difference in practice?
The difference is what you're managing. Traditional MSPs manage infrastructure, servers, networks, security tools, cloud environments. A managed intelligence provider manages intelligence, specifically AI agents. They curate, orchestrate, and govern autonomous AI systems that actually do work on behalf of the business.
Wait, so instead of managing the tools, you're managing the agents that use the tools?
Exactly. And Pax8's CEO Scott Chasen put it really well. He said, "We are standing at the edge of a monumental new era where agentic systems will redefine how work gets done." And he specifically said the next 24 to 36 months are critical. MSPs that evolve quickly into the MIP model will be poised for long-term success.
That's a pretty tight window. 24 to 36 months is not a lot of time to reinvent your entire business.
It's not. And what makes it more urgent is this concept the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook describes as the agentic economy. A new era where value is created not just through software functionality, but through autonomous, adaptive, and interconnected intelligence. It's a fundamentally different value proposition.
Okay, I want to dig into something here because there's a tension I'm noticing. On one hand, everyone's talking about AI agents transforming everything. On the other hand, I've seen data suggesting most AI investments aren't actually paying off. How do those two things coexist?
You're pointing at what researchers are literally calling the Gen AI divide. MIT's State of AI in Business 2025 report found that despite $30 to $40 billion in enterprise investment in generative AI, 95% of organizations are getting zero return from their Gen AI initiatives. Zero.
95%. That's almost everyone.
Almost everyone. And yet, and this is where it gets interesting, Google's 2025 industry research found that 87% of professionals are already using AI agents in their work. So you have this weird split. People love using AI tools individually, but organizations as a whole are not capturing the value.
So it's working for individuals, but not for companies as a whole.
Right. And the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook frames this as the exact gap that MIPs are positioned to bridge. The opportunity isn't selling AI tools, it's guiding businesses beyond experimentation and into structured, scalable deployments where intelligence is actually embedded into everyday workflows.
That's actually a really compelling argument for why MIPs matter. Like, if 95% of companies are failing at AI on their own, they need someone to help them do it right.
And the market data backs that up. The KPMG Managed Services Outlook Survey 2026, which was done with IDC and surveyed over 1,200 senior leaders from large global organizations, found that more than 90% of executives now view managed services as essential for agentic AI delivery.
Over 90%. That's basically unanimous.
And 87% of those respondents have already woven managed services directly into their digital transformation plans. The KPMG report also found that AI capability is now the single most cited consideration when companies choose a managed services provider. Not price, not track record, AI capability.
That's a massive shift in what clients are actually looking for.
Huge. And 56% of buyers in that survey said AI management is their top priority for managed services investment over the next 2 years. Cybersecurity came in second at 33%. So the buying criteria have completely flipped from what they were even a few years ago.
Let me push back a little here, though, because there's also data showing that MSPs themselves aren't fully leveraging the tools they already have. Like, how do you become a managed intelligence provider if you're still figuring out your own business intelligence?
That's a fair and important challenge. Support Adventure's 26 MSP industry benchmarks found that around 87% of MSPs admit they are not fully leveraging their business intelligence tools. So yes, there's a real gap between the aspiration and the current reality.
So the people who are supposed to be guiding others through AI transformation are themselves struggling with it.
Which is actually not that surprising when you think about it. The MSP Global Winter 2026 report described this as a market maturation moment. After months of AI enthusiasm, MSPs are shifting from technology-led expansion to execution-focused fundamentals. They're recalibrating. And that's probably healthy.
Okay, so let's talk about what this looks like in practice. Because I think a lot of people hear AI agents and it sounds very abstract. What are we actually talking about?
PAX 8's research actually mapped out 4 distinct levels of AI agent functionality. You start with chatbots, generative tools that respond to direct human prompts. Then you move to assistants, which use more sophisticated reasoning to decompose complex goals into steps and execute multiple operations in sequence. Then digital labor, which operates independently across multiple systems with minimal human oversight.
And there's a fourth level?
The report identifies 4 levels, with digital labor being the third, and that's already where a lot of the real transformation is happening. The point is that most businesses are stuck at level 1 or 2, using chatbots and basic assistants, while the real value is in getting to autonomous multi-system agents. That's the bridge MSPs are supposed to build.
And a DevPro Journal article from today, literally July 24, 2026, made the point that the biggest mistake solution providers can make is leading with the technology. The best AI opportunities start with a simple question: where is the customer losing time, margin, or visibility?
That's exactly right. And that framing is actually what separates a managed intelligence provider from someone just reselling AI tools. The MIP starts with the business problem, not the technology. According to Gartner, worldwide AI spending is forecast to reach $2.52 trillion in 2026. So the money is flowing. But the question is whether it's being deployed intelligently.
$2.5 trillion, and most of it potentially not generating returns.
Which is why the role of the MIP is so critical. The CMS IT Services white paper on AI-powered automation in managed services made a really important distinction. AI-based automation introduces dynamic flexibility that rule-based systems never had. It enables systems to learn, adapt, and make decisions instantly based on diverse data inputs. That's a fundamentally different capability than what traditional MSPs were delivering.
So the old model was essentially scripted responses to known problems. The new model is adaptive intelligence that handles things you didn't even anticipate.
Exactly. And ByteBridge's analysis of AI integration in MSPs found that by 2025, MSPs implementing AI-managed services were reporting operational cost reductions of up to 30 to 50% compared to traditional in-house operations. That's a compelling number for any client.
30 to 50% cost reduction. That's not incremental improvement, that's transformational.
And it's not just cost. ByteBridge also found that AI-powered predictive maintenance shifts MSPs from a reactive approach to a proactive one, forecasting equipment failures before they happen, optimizing resource allocation, enhancing infrastructure uptime. The whole posture changes.
I want to come back to something you mentioned earlier, the SMB angle, because I think that's actually where this gets really interesting. Like the idea that small businesses could now access capabilities that used to be enterprise only.
This is one of the most compelling parts of the whole story. The Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook describes it as the democratization of capability, empowering organizations of all sizes with tools once reserved for industry giants. SMBs are entering an era where growth is no longer constrained by labor costs because they can deploy AI agents that provide fractional access to expertise that was previously out of reach.
And the survey data on SMBs using AI is pretty striking, right?
It is. The ME Playbook cites surveys showing 78% of SMBs using AI tools say it's a game changer. 87% report it helps them scale operations, and 86% have seen improved margins. Those are remarkable numbers. But, and this is the important caveat, that satisfaction with simple tools doesn't yet translate into the kind of agent-powered, domain-specific AI solutions that actually transform a business.
So they're happy with their ChatGPT, but they haven't actually restructured their operations around AI.
Right, and that's the gap. The playbook also makes an interesting historical comparison. It says the first 2 decades of the cloud era saw SMBs reinventing themselves as SaaS-powered organizations. The AI era is another profound reconfiguring of markets, but it's happening faster and the stakes are higher.
That's a really useful frame. Like, we've been through this kind of disruption before with cloud and SaaS, and the businesses that adapted thrived. The ones that didn't got left behind.
And the MSPs that helped businesses navigate that cloud transition became essential partners. The question now is whether those same MSPs can make the leap to becoming intelligence orchestrators. Because the KPMG report is pretty clear, managed services is now a strategic priority for 99% of organizations, with 2/3 expecting it to drive major operating, business, and strategic impact within 24 months.
99%. That's essentially every organization.
And the KPMG report frames it really well. In the race for agentic AI, the biggest risk isn't making a mistake, it's standing still. That's a pretty stark warning for MSPs that are comfortable with the status quo.
Let me ask you about the cybersecurity angle because it keeps coming up in all of these reports. Is that a separate trend or is it deeply intertwined with the AI shift?
It's deeply intertwined. The KPMG survey found that buyers' top two areas of investment are AI management and cybersecurity. And the report explicitly says these are intertwined because as you deploy more AI, you also expand your attack surface. The MSP Global Spring 2026 report put it bluntly, AI is now infrastructure, yet also the thing MSPs fear most.
So AI creates both the opportunity and the risk simultaneously.
Exactly. And the scale of the cybersecurity market reflects that. Supported Ventures 2026 benchmarks show the global managed security market is expected to rise from $93 billion in 2025 to $106 billion in 2026, a 14.4% increase in a single year. Cybersecurity is now the most delivered service among MSPs at 55%, and 41% are prioritizing expanding it further.
And the MSP Global Winter 2026 report mentioned regulatory pressures too. GDPR, NIS2, driving that cybersecurity urgency.
Right. Cybersecurity climbed from 26% to 31% as a business health priority in just one quarter, according to that report. Regulatory compliance is becoming a major driver alongside the pure threat landscape. And that's actually another area where MIPs can add value. AI governance and compliance are becoming their own service categories.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second, because I think there's a counter-argument worth addressing. Some people might say, look, MSPs have always adapted. They went from break-fix to managed services, from on-premise to cloud. Why is this transition any different or more existential?
That's a legitimate question. And the honest answer is that the speed and the depth of the change are different this time. Previous transitions were about managing new types of infrastructure. This transition is about managing intelligence itself, autonomous systems that make decisions. That's not just a new tool category, it's a new kind of relationship with technology.
And the Gartner research cited in the MIP playbook, AI disruption will decide services provider winners and losers. That title alone says something about the stakes.
It does. And the MSP Global data shows that despite all the uncertainty, MSP confidence has actually remained constant. The Spring 2026 report found confidence levels unchanged across 4 consecutive quarterly surveys. So the industry isn't panicking, but it is recalibrating. The theme shifted from growth at all costs to sustainable business models. That's a meaningful maturation.
And around 55% of MSPs anticipate revenue increases exceeding 10% in 2026, according to Supported Ventures benchmarks. So the fundamentals are still strong.
The fundamentals are strong, but the composition of that revenue is shifting. The MSPs that are growing are the ones adding AI strategy, integration, governance, and support as service lines, not just the ones doing better at traditional infrastructure management.
So when you step back from all of this, the market data, the MIP framework, the Gen AI divide, the KPMG findings, what does this really come down to for someone trying to make sense of where the industry is headed?
Here's what I think it comes down to. The managed services industry built its entire value proposition on being the reliable, trusted partner that keeps your technology running. And that's still valuable, but it's no longer sufficient. The new value proposition is being the partner that makes your technology intelligent. That's a different promise, and it requires a different set of capabilities.
And the data suggests clients are already demanding that shift. The KPMG finding that AI capability is now the #1 consideration when choosing a managed services provider. That's clients voting with their contracts.
Exactly. And the opportunity is genuinely enormous. The AI services market is projected to reach $644 billion in global spend, according to the MIP playbook. The managed services market itself is on track to potentially exceed $1 trillion by 2034. The question isn't whether there's a market, the question is who captures it.
And the 95% of organizations getting zero return from their Gen AI investments, that's not a failure story. That's actually a massive opportunity for MIPs to step in and make those investments actually work.
That's the reframe that I think is most important. The Gen AI divide isn't evidence that AI doesn't work. It's evidence that most organizations can't deploy it effectively on their own. And that's precisely the gap that managed intelligence providers are positioned to fill. The KPMG report said it well. Managed services are a way to bypass planning paralysis and start getting ROI on day one.
So the MSPs that figure this out become more essential, not less, even as AI automates more of what they used to do manually.
That's the paradox at the heart of this whole story. AI is automating the tasks that traditional MSPs built their business on: routine monitoring, basic troubleshooting, scripted responses. But AI is also creating a massive new need for orchestration, governance, and strategic guidance that only a trusted partner can provide. The MSPs that see that clearly are the ones that will thrive.
Here's what this really comes down to for anyone listening. Whether you run a business that depends on an MSP or you're inside the MSP industry yourself, the shift we've been describing isn't coming, it's already here. The KPMG survey of over 1,200 senior leaders found that managed services is a strategic priority for 99% of organizations. That's not a future state. That's now.
And the actionable insight is this. If you're a business leader, the question to ask your MSP right now is not, are you keeping our systems running? It's, what is your AI capability, and how are you going to help us actually get returns from our AI investments? Because according to KPMG, that's what 56% of buyers are already prioritizing.
And if you're inside an MSP, the window Scott Chasen described, 24 to 36 months, that clock is running. The MSP global data shows confidence is holding steady, which is good. But confidence without transformation is just optimism.
Well said. The industry has navigated big transitions before, from break-fix to managed services, from on-premise to cloud. Each time, the providers that adapted became indispensable. The ones that didn't became footnotes. This transition is bigger and faster, but the pattern is the same.
We started with that number. 88% of small and mid-sized businesses already depend on MSP services. That dependency isn't going away. But what businesses are depending on MSPs for is changing completely. The MSPs that survive won't be the ones who managed your servers best. They'll be the ones who managed your future.